These are the Jupiter Files for Monday, August 8th. My name is Brian Lunduke. Now, if you've watched the Jupiter Files before, and it has been a while since we've been on the air, you generally know what to expect, and we're back. Now, if you have not seen us before, and you're generally new to Jupiter Files and what Jupiter Files is, here's the quick rundown. Jupiter Files is a show where you look at me, and then you look at something else. Say, for instance, these groovy pictures over here. And we talk about topics ranging from UFOs, time travel, general paranormal phenomenon. This is not a fast-paced, witty, back-and-forth style show like you may be used to on Jupiter Broadcasting. This show is all about presenting to you some of the things that I've thought were the coolest in the general world of paranormal and UFO news over the last week. Presenting the information to you, presenting the pictures and videos to you, and then you deciding what exactly any of it means, if anything. Now, of course, we also have a community over at jupitercolony.com, which is our official forum, if you want to discuss any of the topics that you see in today's video. Now, we are here every week, every Monday. You can check out the latest Jupiter Files. So, if you like the show, and you do, you simply come back every Monday and Shazam, there you go. Now, we're going to break this off today with news that most of you have probably already seen. Now, some Swedish ocean explorers, generally who do deep-sea salvage work, found a rather awesome disc-shaped object that you can see in the photo here. Let me see if I can zoom in on it a little for you there. This looks to me like the Millennium Falcon crashed into the bottom of the ocean. Basically, it is a strange disc-shaped object with chunks taken out of it, and as you can see, it is on the bottom of the ocean and has a path where it has obviously, I hate to say the word crash landed because it is the bottom of the ocean, so that's not exactly right, but it was obviously moving, or at least it looks like it was moving, and came to a stop and, either had some chunks taken out of it and was originally just a perfect circle, or it was the Millennium Falcon. Now, obviously I don't think the Millennium Falcon crash landed into the ocean, but, well, I love the idea. The idea that the Millennium Falcon crash landed into the ocean is probably one of the best ideas ever. Now, this is this was found, let me make sure I get this correct, on the ocean floor, about 300 feet down, in the area between Finland and Sweden. So it's sitting over there. It's about 60 feet in diameter, so it's a very large circle. And they've made it very clear, the individuals that found this, that they've never seen anything quite like this before. And these are people that do these sort of deep-sea ocean floor exploration stuff for a living, and they've been doing this for a while. One of the gentlemen says, you see a lot of weird stuff in this job. During my 18 years as a professional, I have never seen anything like this. The shape is completely round. This was Swedish researcher Peter Lindberg. Now, it looks a lot like a flying saucer that crashed and had some chunks taken out of it. Or the Millennium Falcon. I'm going with the Millennium Falcon personally. Now, the bummer here is that there's really no funds to go down there, excavate, and really see what it is. More likely than not, it's a naturally occurring formation of some kind, and it just simply happens to be round, perhaps due to erosion or the tidal currents and whatnot. But we aren't going to find out because there's simply no funds to make that happen. Now, one of the other stories that I wanted to bring up has nothing to do with UFOs of any kind. It is kind of one of those end-of-days stories that really isn't an end-of-day story at all. But there is a lake in Texas that turned blood red. Now in the video, you obviously aren't seeing it red. Head on over to jupiterbroadcasting.com. Check the show notes. We'll have a link in there so you can check it out for yourself. But basically what had happened is there is a reservoir in West Texas where they've been having a drought. So obviously the reservoir has shrunken quite a bit. And what has happened is a lot of the fish in the reservoir have died, and a particular kind of bacteria has begun flourishing quite dramatically, and that particular type of bacteria is the result of the chromaticea bacteria, which thrive in oxygen-deprived water. So basically you've got this very small lake, or at least much smaller than it once was, the small reservoir that is filled with dead fish and this particular type of bacteria, and it became bright red, which is creepy. Obviously not exactly the end of days, although some people, I'm sure, think that. Now, back over the UFO stuff, because I like UFO stuff. I want to talk for a little bit about crop circles. Now, think what you will about crop circles, where they came from. Obviously, many crop circles are man-made. At the very least, many crop circles are not made by extraterrestrial visitors, though a good argument could be made that some are. However, we've had a couple of stories come out over the last week that have had researchers explaining where crop circles come from, and they're a little different. One of the researchers has said that crop circles, are created more using GPS and lasers nowadays, as opposed to, say, strings of twine to get lines straight and whatnot. So if you're out there and you're creating a crop circle yourself, in the olden days, you'd take a couple of planks of wood and you'd batter down all of the individual bits of crop, and you'd use twine and rope and the like to get your lines straight. And now they're making the obvious statement that people are using a little more high-tech means. And that, of course, is very cool and everything. GPS is great. Laser guidance is awesome. Much like you do with building a house nowadays. You use lasers instead of, just necessarily an old-fashioned level and ruler. However, one of the cool bits that caught my attention in this article is the use of microwaves in actually flattening these circles. I'm going to read a little bit from this article. This came from the Telegraph over there in Great Britain. And Professor Taylor, director of the Material Sciences Institute at the University of Oregon, which is a little more local, said the findings suggest that crop circle artists may be using magnetrons found in microwave ovens or similar technology to complete the detailed patterns in the space of a few hours. So what they're actually talking about here is the use of microwaves to create crop circles, which is very cool and all. However, down in Australia, people have a very, very different take on the whole matter. In fact, they're saying that many of the crop circles created down in Australia are created by Wallabies who are stoned and blitzed out of their mind on opium. Now, Australia has 50%, according to this article, of the world's legal opium production. Now, obviously, if you've got naturally occurring wildlife, and even non-naturally occurring wildlife, they're going to get into your crops. You can't really keep animals out of a gigantic field. So these wallabies that are roaming all over the place are eating it up, getting stoned on opium, and then wandering in circles, creating crop circles. Seriously, this apparently is really, really happening. There are stoned wallabies wandering around the Australian outback, creating crop circles, which is actually pretty cool. Now, that's cool enough. However, there have been a number of other discussions that have happened because of this. They've actually been talking about this issue in the Australian Parliament. And what's come up is that a lot of animals apparently do this, this sort of thing. There's apparently many sheep who have been getting stoned and doing similar things to the fields, where they kind of plow down in a lot of the fields. And apparently there's been discussion about how reindeers seek out magic mushrooms to, and I quote, escape the reality of long, harsh winters, which, fair enough. Not quite as cool as stoned wallabies creating crop circles, but kudos to you, reindeers. Now, there is always UFO sightings. There are UFO sightings every day, and I want to be clear about this. For those who do not follow the Mutual UFO Network or any of the other UFO sighting organizations, simply because an item is identified as a UFO, an object, does not mean it's aliens or even presumed to be aliens. It's merely an object that is unidentified. Now, there are so many things flying around in our skies. There are planes and helicopters and balloons and little toys you buy at hobby shops, and many of them have awesome lights on them. So it's rather easy to have a number of unidentified flying objects. Here, in this video, we see an unidentified flying object in the Fort Worth area. Now watch the upper right-hand corner of the video, and you see a light that comes seemingly crashing down to the ground, but then either the same light or a different light, but it seems almost too coincidental to be a different light, comes jetting out at a 45-degree, roughly, angle from the original light. Let's see, we can get a little bit closer look on this here. Ah, there you see it. There you see it. Look at that. What the hell is that light doing? So it's coming basically straight down and deciding, whoop, I'm going to decide to not go down anymore. It curves, it bends, and it shoots off at a 45-degree angle. Now what the heck? Now what flying object can you think of that would actually do that? That would come seemingly straight down at a very, very slight angle, before it hits the ground, make a sharp 45-degree turn and go off, not quite following the land horizontally, but kind of going, still climbing up into the air, just shoom, shoom. It seems ridiculous, but it's very, very cool looking. There aren't a whole lot of these sightings that usually catch my attention. Normally the sightings are of the kind where there is a light in the sky, in the night sky. Someone has a very shaky handheld camera that's very, very blurry, and all you do is you see a little blob of whiteness jiggle around that you can't tell if the blob of whiteness is jiggling because it's actually moving, or the person has just a really shaky camera, or they're zoomed in so far that it's magnifying every little breath they take into a jiggly camera experience. It's like watching a J.J. Abrams film. So I usually ignore most of those because there's nothing to be gained from them. You look at them and you think, well, what is this? It doesn't look like anything. But this one, let's look at that one again just very briefly. It is odd. Let's get the zoomed in shot there. What the heck is that light doing? What? I can't think of what that could be. That's not an airplane, because I don't know of any airplane that's coming in for a crash landing and then deciding, whoop, nope, never mind, I'm not going to crash land, and zoops up out at a 45-degree angle like that. There you go, a little infrared shot, or a negative shot. Yeah, I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue what that is. It's very, very cool, and it looks very, very neat, and I think there should be more unidentified shots that have that sort of thing in it. That was actually found from the NBC News Skycam out of Fort Worth, Texas, which is pretty cool. That came from back on July 25th. Now, here is something that is not a UFO. There's no lights in the sky. There's no flying object. this is merely a cloud. In fact, this is a cloud that appeared in Montreal, Canada, recently. And I just want you to look at it because it is stellarly cool looking. Here's this cloud. And it is a singular cloud hovering over the city. Now, obviously, there's a storm going on, but there is just basically one mega monster cloud with a ridiculous quantity of lightning going on inside of it. And it looks an awful lot like the type of cloud you'd see in movies like Independence Day, where this cloud will hover over the top of the city, and then all of a sudden, it'll begin to dissipate and break apart, and there will be a mammoth flying saucer in there, and it will proceed to blow up a huge skyscraper with a cool little beam. Now, obviously, that did not happen. Near as I can tell, Montreal, Canada is still standing and mostly in one piece. But that is a really, really cool cloud. Again, not a UFO, but the coolest cloud I have ever seen. I just think that's really, really cool. Now, what you make of that is entirely up to you. I think it's entirely possible that it is merely a test cloud for hiding UFO invasions in the future. That's a pretty good assumption. Let's just throw that out there. You go ahead and decide that for yourself. All right. So you want to get a hold of us, you can do it over the Jupiter Colony. You can do so over at my website, lunduke.com. You can get a hold of me by emailing me at Brian, with a Y, at lunduke.com. It's my email address. That's where you can get a hold of me. You can check out all the other Jupiter Broadcasting shows over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. You can check out this show every week here, every Monday, every single Monday, right here on the internet. And that's pretty exciting for everyone involved. Now, if you've got any tips, if you've got anything that you want to be featured on the Jupiter Files, or you think would be of interest to not just me, but all the people watching Jupiter Files, go ahead and email it to me, or even better yet, put it in the colony. Post it to my Twitter feed. I'm Brian Lunduke on Twitter. I'm also Brian Lunduke on Google Plus and every other random social media website in the universe, most of which I don't actually check. And that is a pretty fantastic way to go. Which reminds me that it is the end of the show. This is the end of the show. All of this you're seeing right now is the end. There's no more show after this. None at all.